Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the 48th Hodlnots Weekly Warm Up, and I'm John.
I'm Vicky.
Let's get into some of the crypto headlines making news and headlines over the last couple of days, and a whole bunch of them there are indeed. Let's kick it off.
Yeah, there are a lot, and we're going to start with Bitcoin as we usually do, but this time to the Bitcoin ETFs, which have suffered a record 4.5 billion exodus in June as demand cools. So investor demand for US spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds weakened sharply in June after the product experienced a record 4.5 US billion in net outflows, the largest monthly withdrawal since their launch in January 2024. The sustained selling lifted total net outflows for 2026 to roughly 5.5 billion, trimming cumulative net inflows since inception to about 51.2 billion. BlackRock's IBIT led the redemptions with approximately 3.55 billion in withdrawals, accounting for close to four-fifths of all June's outflows across the sector. So, despite cumulative inflows sitting modestly above year early levels, on-chain data shows US spot Bitcoin ETFs now collectively hold less Bitcoin than they did at the same point last year, with holdings below 1.25 million Bitcoin.
That said, there has been a little bit of an inflow over the last couple of days. Why? Bitcoin is seemingly holding above the last couple of days, above that psychological 60,000. Now, a lot of you that know me, one of my favorite indicators is the Bollinger Bands, and not just because the founder's name is John as well, but for other reasons. And that's normally to do with scalp trading, safe entries and exits. However, and this is just one opinion, ladies and gents. We thought the bottom was in, sitting at around 60,000, and then it went down even further. Now, John Bollinger, he's the creator of the Bollinger Bands from back in the 80s. He is eyeing this current Bitcoin bear market as a potential end. Why? There's a W-shaped reversal pattern. Let's see what he had to say. So the Bitcoin price strength could potentially break the entire downtrend if the reversal pattern is completed, according to John Bollinger. And this is in light of the Bitcoin rebound that it's seen once it hit that low of 57,800, depending on the exchange. On an X post on Friday, John Bollinger, he says he's eyeing this W-shaped bottom on the Bitcoin US dollar or USDT charts. Yeah, to quote him, he says, Bitcoin has seen a series of bullish patterns broken, evidence of the power of the downtrend. Will this W be the one that breaks the trend? The W-shaped reversals involve two swing lows with a rejected rebound in between, with price ultimately breaking through that rejection level to form a new uptrend. And that's kind of what we're going to look at the Bitcoin chart shortly. John Bollinger Band, he uploaded this chart showing how neatly the current setup aligns with the lower band of the Bollinger Bands indicating on the daily time frame. Is exactly what we'll be showing you shortly. He says, note that it is perfectly fractal. There are small W's at the nadirs and a small M at the top of the apex, which we'll show you. I'm pointing out that W on the weekly chart. Friday, US spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds saw their first net inflows in 10 days. So over the last couple of days, we have seen an increase despite that massive exit, $4 billion worth. Now, he says Bitcoin, in his opinion, is in the late stage of the bear cycle, but the ETF segment has for the first time signaled that the pressure is easing. Well, will we see continued investor confidence in Bitcoin? Well, we trade what we see, right? We'll have a look at that Bitcoin chart shortly. Back to you.
And to all of Australian members, because a lot of countries have already been doing this, but Australia has now started doing this on the 1st of July, and their crypto travel rule goes live. Every transfer now needs a name attached. So from July 1st, Australians using regulated cryptocurrency exchanges will face or have faced new identity checks whenever they send or receive digital assets as the country's crypto travel rule officially comes into force. The requirement applies to transfers of every size and complete the final phase of Australia's anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism finance reforms. So here we go. Administered by Austrac, the rules require regulated exchanges to collect, verify, and transmit key information relating to covered virtual asset transfers. The obligations extend across services, including crypto to fiat trading, crypto to crypto exchanges, transfer services, safekeeping providers, and certain token-related activities linked to Australia. Customers transferring funds between regulated platforms will be asked for information, including the sender's and recipient's details, and where relevant, the receiving exchange. Exchanges may store previously submitted information to reduce repeat verification requests for future transactions. So South Africa, for instance, has had to do this for a while, and now Australia will have to as well, exchange to exchange mainly. So anyone in Australia, you'll see that popping up now.
And speaking of my country, South Africa has been working on crypto regulatory frameworks for a number of years, and generally spearheading that is not necessarily our Federal Reserve or our Revenue Reserve Bank. That said, is our revenue services. So our version of the IRS, or the South African Revenue Services, is proposing this new crypto tax guidance under the existing framework. So our, or South Africa's tax authority, has proposed new guidance that clarifies how crypto assets are taxed under existing income and capital gains tax frameworks. Now, SARS, South African Revenue Service, last week Wednesday published its draft guidelines on crypto asset taxation, applying South Africa's existing tax framework primarily the Income Tax Act of 1962, alongside the current capital gains tax rules. Now, the draft provides that most crypto activities, including trading, swapping, and spending, are generally treated as disposals that may trigger tax events. It still emphasizes that the rules depend heavily on each taxpayer's specific circumstances. Now, if adopted, the proposed guidelines are set to impact millions of local users. As SARS reported in 2024 that at least 5.8 million residents of South Africa hold crypto assets. So it's obviously gone up 5.8 million, probably a lot more than that by now. The guidance document reiterated that crypto assets are not legal tender or foreign currency, but rather intangible assets for tax purposes. The preferred interpretation of the legal nature of crypto assets is that although highly versatile and capable of negotiability, they are not currency and consequently not foreign currency, the agency has said. Now, the draft guideline is not final law and is open for public comment until the 31st of August this year. SARS said that it intended to attempt to provide interpretive clarity rather than introduce new legal obligations. So, South Africans, and a bunch of you here on the call right now, there are a bunch of great articles you can go read. You can go check out government gazettes. You can chat to your tax consultant, because SARS is very much getting more and more jacked up. So please make sure that you're tax compliant and understand the implications of holding versus scalp trading and all those hundreds and thousands of trades that you might do in a year or a couple of years. So South Africa is getting more and more jacked up, as is the rest of the world. Back to you.
So on to another country in Emirates. Emirates is the airline, and they have signed a memorandum of understanding with Crypto.com for future integration of Crypto.com Pay as a payment option for its customers. So Emirates has signed a memorandum of understanding with Crypto.com to explore ways to integrate Crypto.com Pay with its payment systems while maintaining high security and compliance standards. Integration is expected to take effect next year. In addition to exploring Crypto.com Pay integration, Emirates and Crypto.com will explore leveraging promotional marketing campaigns to create awareness and encourage adoption of this new payment solution. So the airline's partnership comes as Dubai positions itself as a global cryptocurrency hub, supported by a robust ecosystem and a sophisticated regulatory framework designed to foster innovation while ensuring investor protection and financial stability. A number of Dubai companies are already accepting cryptocurrency as a form of purchase, from real estate developers to major telecoms. So the end of this year, you'll probably be able to pay for your airfare on Emirates with cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. Lots of applications going forward in terms of how to be able to spend that. So sticking with the UAE, talk about Emirates, is that Dubai, which falls under the UAE, which falls under Asia, funny enough, for those of you who can't work your head around that, it is in the Western region, or Western Asian region of Asia. It is now the largest in terms of crypto providers, or at least holds the most number of licenses when it comes to trading crypto. So the Dubai market, crypto market, has now hit 50 licensed companies or firms after the new VARA, VARA approval. Now, Dubai crypto market has hit this 50 licensed firms after the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, VARA, Dubai's crypto regulator, has granted its 50th virtual asset service provider, that VASP we've spoken about on previous calls. On Thursday, VARA said its latest approval went to tokenized assets platform Tribe Tokenization, FZD. Now, the milestone provides one measure of the growth of Dubai's crypto licensing regime, though license totals alone do not show how many firms are operational or the level of businesses or business that they do generate. Now, against that backdrop, Dubai's 50 licensed VASPs exceed the totals reported in Hong Kong, which is only as 13, and Singapore 37. So lots of future business and current business actually heading through Dubai, becoming a lot more crypto friendly. And now that they've got at least 50 licensed operators, they are very much on the forefront in terms of the entire Asia. And a lot more money will be driven in that way as well. So well done, Dubai.
Absolutely. And Russia is also jumping on this wagon as its digital ruble is set to go live as banks confirm readiness for September deadline. So Russia is set to switch on nationwide use of its digital ruble on September 1st after Bank of Russia governor declared that the central bank digital currency technology ready for mass deployment despite persistent signs of a weak public demand. So technologically, everything is ready. We have carried out extensive I can't say that word, preparatory work at this stage. If I didn't do that at least once, everyone would be probably upset. So, framing the launch as the culmination of a rollout that began when President Vladimir Putin signed the currency into law nearly 3 years ago. So it's taken 3 years to get this on track, but they are going to release it in September.
And that is all despite EU sanctions as well. Now, heading to one of my favorite countries in the world because I lived there for 5.5 years, Taiwan is the news, and congrats because their entire legislature has passed crypto and stablecoin regulations, getting very much more jacked up. Sorry, China. Taiwanese lawmakers have passed a law to establish a regulatory framework for crypto as well, which includes licensing and rules for stablecoins. Now, Taiwan's financial watchdog, the Financial Supervisory Commission, the FSC, said that the Legislative Yuan had passed the law requiring all VASPs to get approval from the regulator to operate. Now, the law also says stablecoins issued in Taiwan must get approval from the central bank and the FSC, and issuers must maintain sufficient reserves with a trustee and undergo regular audits. Now, the law is the first to regulate crypto and stablecoins in Taiwan, bringing it in line with other governments in the region, such as Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong, that have long passed laws to regulate the sector in a bid to attract the crypto industry. Jayo, Taiwan, Jayo. Back to you, Vikki.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, which is actually very unfortunate. And this is back to France, where they're having so many crypto-related kidnapping cases that a new security policy is coming. So France has recorded 77 cryptocurrency-related cases involving kidnappings, extortion, or attempted kidnappings since the beginning of the year. Speaking to the Association of Digital Asset Holders on June 30, Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said the number had increased significantly from 45 cases reported in 2025. So the plan is built around three priorities. The first focuses on expanding intelligence sharing. The second priority aims to deepen cooperation by creating a network of experts that connects cryptocurrency industry participants with relevant government officials. And the third party seeks to improve operational coordination between law enforcement agencies to disrupt criminal groups more effectively, while also strengthening cooperation with countries where those believed to be organizing the attacks are located. So hopefully they can do something to help that, because gosh, it's terrible what's happening in France with the physical attacks.
Yeah, those wrench attacks are definitely
Mm.
on the increase. More on that at a later point, we're sure, unless all gets resolved, fingers crossed. Now, speaking about resolution, we brought you a story and we brought you a follow-up story, and here's a follow-up to that follow-up story. Is that you guys might have heard about that case in the States, in New York, about those 39,069 Bitcoin wallets. You guys remember that? You remember that there were three applicants who were looking to claim that under one of the New York statutes or the laws that identified those wallets as lost property, right? Well, a defendant has come in to defend that entire case, and they're looking to file a dismissal against this lawsuit where the person or these three applicants are looking to claim those 39,069 Bitcoin wallets. A pseudonymous defendant has moved to dismiss this New York lawsuit of these other three people claiming the ownership of those dormant Bitcoin addresses, arguing that Bitcoin addresses are merely data strings that cannot be sued or sought after. Now, the defendants, identifying themselves as John Doe 33, filed a notice of appearance and motion to dismiss on Thursday last week, claiming they control one of the dormant wallets named in the lawsuit. Now, according to the motion, the lawsuit is legally defective. The entire lawsuit is legally defective because Bitcoin address strings are neither persons nor legal entities subject to the court's jurisdiction. Now, the filing argues that a public Bitcoin address cannot itself be found under New York's lost property law because it has always been publicly visible on the blockchain. Blockchain data suggests that John Doe 33, this person, controls a wallet holding 5,000 Bitcoin, which was received in April of 2014, that has remained untouched for more than 12 years, making it worth roughly about $300 million at the current price. According to a X post on Friday from Galaxy Digital Head of Research, Alex Thorne, who we've heard about from before, Alex says that's 1,000 times the median defendant address. All right, sorry, 100x times. So out of the 39,069 Bitcoin wallet addresses, this one address out of all of those holding the $300 million worth, all right, 5,000 Bitcoin, is about 100 times that median, the average defendant address. That is a real holder with real standing, choosing to fight and not be a bystander. So one person has come forward claiming that they are that holder, one of the holders of the 39,000, and that entire lawsuit may fall apart, basically, if it carries on. So we thought we'd keep you updated because, again, the total number of Bitcoin in all those wallets that are apparently lost are a good couple of $billion, couple of like $200 billion worth. So interesting, not related to us, but yeah, we try bringing you the interesting stories as well.
It is actually really interesting that they're having to create all these new laws for crypto. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more of those coming up. But we're actually going around the world in 90 days at the moment, or 30 minutes, because now over to Ireland. So Irish authorities recover the third batch of Bitcoin from convicted drug traffickers' lost wallets, now totaling 92 million. And we brought this story again to you before. And a further 500 Bitcoin connected to convicted Irish drug trafficker Clifton Collins has been recovered by Irish authorities, taking the total seized in the long-running case to 1,500 Bitcoin, valued more than 92 million. The latest recovery alone is worth close to 31 million. The operation was led by Ireland's Criminal Assets Bureau with support from Europol's European Cybercrime Center, which supplies specific decryption capabilities, technical expertise, and coordinated operational meetings for investigators. Authorities have now recovered Bitcoin from 3 of the 12 wallets that originally held 6,000 Bitcoin, obtained through proceeds from cannabis cultivation and drug trafficking. So earlier recoveries of 500 Bitcoin each took place in March and May after investigators gained access to the wallets. So they are chipping away at that ill-gained Bitcoin. So maybe they'll get more, hopefully.
And some people have not gotten more, but a lot less. So nearly 1 million people have lost a total of $3.8 billion after buying President Donald Trump's Trump meme coin, according to the crypto analytics firm Nansen. Now, Trump announced just before his inauguration, 3 days before, announced the meme coin. He'd previously co-founded a crypto startup, World Liberty Finance, with his sons. Now, the World Liberty Finance coin has also declined significantly in value. In a recent financial disclosure, the president revealed that he made $636 million from the Trump meme coin, accounting for nearly half of the $1.4 billion that the president made from the crypto industry last year. Meanwhile, other people have lost. Ladies and gents, do not buy into the hype. Trade what you see. There is no get rich quick.
100%. And Coinbase, which we all know, is under fire over alleged AI hallucination of the World Cup result before the match even began. So Coinbase faced sharp criticism this weekend after an AI-generated alert on its prediction markets reportedly declared a false World Cup result, saying Norway had beaten Brazil before the match was even played. So the notification claimed Norway won 3-2 and framed the fabricated outcome as breaking news. Users flagged the alert on social media, where critics called it dangerous and irresponsible. And I can believe that because we know how the fans are. So if they saw that, they might have lost their minds.
Well, luckily it did play out anyways, not 3-2, but 2-1. Well done, Norway.
Yeah.
It's been amazing watching their journey throughout the current FIFA World Cup as well. Next time, luck Brazil. Now, speaking about not so much about luck, but about fear and greed. What is the kind of market sentiment at the moment?
It's the same as last week. Little bit more greedy, tiny bit more, but really it's not reacting as much to Bitcoin's little rise as we thought it would. So it's around 24, it was around 20 last week. And Bitcoin has risen a little bit, which John will show you right now, actually.
Absolutely. So, despite the massive outflows of those ETFs, and was substantial, there has ever since Friday started to see a little bit more inflow of things as well. All right, and last week Monday we had said to you guys and girls, we said that Bitcoin was going to struggle. At that point, it was below that current indicator, which a lot of you should know. And it dropped down and where it had found support, and that is where it actually found that new low. All right, so Wednesday, the 1st of July, went even lower again. But since then, there's been a nice bit of a rebound, and especially since this day candle on Thursday closed above that psychological 60,000 mark. It struggled to get past, following then on Saturday, 4th of July, kind of, I suppose, tying in with the 250th celebration of the independence of the United States. It managed to close up above and currently is still holding there tenuously at the moment. There is some decent support around that. Bitcoin should continue in this pattern. And if any of you are fans of the Bollinger Bands, like I am as well, what John Bollinger, not John Wine, has referred to is this W pattern. Okay. And this is where it's found support, and this is where he believes, again, this is just a matter of opinion, this may well be the last play in the bear markets. Let's not get too excited yet, ladies and gents. We're still very far away from when things start to really take off again. But Bitcoin of the next couple of days, that's what we're here for. This weather forecast, brought to you by Hodlnots, is to do with whether or not the entire market, and you can see there's generally quite a lot of bit of red in the market today, is that Bitcoin needs to hold this psychological barrier. The day candle needs to make sure it does not close below at least 60,000, but this is where we want to be at. we're going to hold here. We're going to see Bitcoin bounce between here and 65, another big psychological area. And then we're going to need to see it close up above here. So still quite aware. I think we're going to see a lot more volatility this week. Bitcoin trying to hold its ground, but barring any sort of further war declarations, tariffs, and other general geopolitical turmoil. That said, for those of you who are farming Bitcoin, those of you who are looking to add to your Bitcoin bag, there is a pivot bottom and a buy tag currently. You might have added sometime here and hereabouts. This is not financial advice. You guys know how to farm or should know how to farm and trade with the HodlFire indicator. That again is just for Bitcoin. All right. So again, my sentiment is that Bitcoin needs to hold that 62,000 range. If the day candle closes down below 60,000, if it breaks below 60,000, ladies and gents, I'm worried, really worried that we'll see even lower. And that's why we trade what we see. I'd like to be optimistic and say, yeah, this potentially is in. And maybe next week or in 2 weeks' time, when we talk about this again, let's see if John Bollinger had it right at least. Not many people have at the moment, and this is why we're rather just trading what we're seeing because this is just for Binance. There have been a number of coins that have been running from a scalp trading perspective. Nice, great run from Bell earlier. And HodlFires, if any of you have been in Dexy, Dexy is still trading upwards on the day. Plenty of great opportunities and more for those who are HodlFiring, not just on Binance, but Mexi as well. So, for those of you who'd like to find out more, this is the part where Vikki tells us more about what all is happening this week in the Hodlnots space. Not just the lodge, we've got HodlFire calls, espresso chats, and a whole bunch more. So, tell us more.
We do. We have quite a few calls in the lodge as we do every week, and one a little bit different this week as well. But we start this week off with an espresso chat, and that will be at 11 a.m. UTC. So at about an hour and a half from now. So if you are in the lodge, jump on. They're really, really fun. And we're only having one this week. So if you have the opportunity to jump on, please do today, 11 a.m. UTC. And then again, as usual, we follow that by the first of the self-paced course calls, and this is for anyone doing chapters 1 to 3 at 12 p.m. UTC. It is a video course, so that's why we provide the live calls so you can jump on and ask questions. And then we have another self-paced course call on the 7th, which is the Tuesday at 5 a.m. UTC. So that is for any chapter or module. You can jump on and ask questions. And that will be followed by Wendy's Lodge call at 8 a.m. UTC. So the schedule has kind of gone back to the way it was. It's an hour later, which it will be every other week. But if you're not sure, just jump on the Certified Academy law calendar, and there are on that as well. So the Lodge call this week is 8 a.m. UTC, which is actually an hour later than it normally is. And then we will be doing an X space again at 11 a.m. UTC on Tuesday. So if you do have an X account, please jump on there. And it's a little different than what we usually do at Hodlnots. So we talk about the broader market, kind of like this call, but a little bit more succinct, let's say. And we actually have some really fun characters jump on those calls as well. So that's 11 a.m. UTC, and you need an X account to do that. And then we will be having our HodlFire graduate call this week as usual, and 12 p.m. UTC on Tuesday. And those are for all the graduates of the HodlFire course who are in the graduate chat. We jump on and we have found some great, great calls and coins to trade over June. So hopefully July will be the same. I'm sure it will. We can always find a coin to HodlFire and scalp. And then on Wednesday, we have nothing. Oh, actually, no, there's the normal HODL dot call on Wednesday, which is 9 p.m. UTC. So if you are doing the 3M challenge, which is our scalping challenge, you can jump on the HODL dot call at 9 p.m. UTC on Wednesday and ask any questions if you're stuck on something or if you just want to know some of the rules that are associated with all the levels, jump on there. And then we have a special call actually on Thursday, which is 6 a.m. UTC. This is a live stream event, and it will be talking about the HodlFire leverage. So if you are doing HodlFire, or if you're not doing HodlFire, or if you're just wondering about leverage, jump on that. And Wendy will be talking about HodlFire leverage trading, and that's at 6 a.m. UTC live stream. The details are in the Bitcoin Trending Forecast channels. So if you want to register for that, that's there. And then the second of the huddle dot calls will be also on Thursday, right after that call, which is 7 a.m. ETC. And Liesel will be doing that one. So if you need to ask a question again, if you're doing the 3M challenge, ask Liesel. She knows a lot of answers about the 3M challenge. And then we finish the week as usual with our second of the the self-paced course calls. For this is chapter 4 onwards. And then this week we do have a HodlFire course. So if you are wondering about the HodlFire, how to use it, John always shows it when he shows his Bitcoin chart. That is the 8th and the 10th this week, and it does start at 1 p.m. UTC. So it's more for the Americas and also Europe. So that starts on Wednesday and finishes on Friday. They're about 6 hours each day, 5.5, 6 hours each day. And there are still spaces available. So that's 1 p.m. start both days. And so there's a bit of happening in the lodge, which always is. And that's what we're doing in the lodge this week.
Yeah, that's it with the Huddle Fire as well. If you're in South Africa, you guys are more than welcome to join as well. Actually, anyone around the world, we've had some people joining when it was like 3 o'clock in their morning. A little bit nuts, but for those of you who are in the Eastern Hemisphere who would not be joining this week, potentially one next week again. But that's it. Do not dally. Do not take your time. You want to learn how to trade in this market in different style. Most of you know how to scalp trade. If you don't know, find out all at Hodlnots as well. All right, that's it. There have been a couple of coins running the last couple of days. Scalp trades, HodlFire trades. Anything stand out for you, Vicky?
Yeah, we had a really great one, GPS, a couple of days ago, actually. So GPS, look at that nice look at we were waiting for it to break resistance, and it did. And when it did, wasn't a huge run, but it actually ran about 17% in 22 hours. And that's, we get so blasé about these coins. Actually, 17% in 22 hours is an amazing trade. So that was GPS. And I don't have it on the screen, but we also had 3 or 4 others actually that ran really well, and we're just about to put those in the chat so everyone can see in the Bitcoin Trend Forecast and Hodlnots channels in Telegram. We had a coin called Sin that we have been trading, and we traded it again because Sin ran. That was about 40% in 16 hours. We did Based, which was 29% in a day. We did Riff, 61% in a day and 10 hours, and it was still going at that point. Dexy, 14% in 9 hours, and AWE, 9.6% in 20 hours. So that was kind of the end of June, beginning of July. So we really are excited to see what's going to happen in July because we always have a coin running, and our HodlFire graduates really know how to find them along with us. So it's actually really exciting to be able to trade in any market, really.
That said, to those HodlFire graduates on the call, we see you. And then even scalp traders might apply. And for anyone watching this, here's a little tip. Keep an eye on Vanry, Vanry. It's shaping up. It's still got a bit of work to do in the day, but it is one that is really starting to try and move. There are a few that we've got on our radar. Looking forward to sharing that with the HodlFire graduates tomorrow. Otherwise, the rest of you, trade carefully, trade what you see, use a stop loss. Don't be cavalier and be like, oh no, it's going down 40%. No, no, no. All right, in this market, it could go down further. Be careful out there. We'll catch you guys on some of the calls happening in the Hodlnots space this week. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week again, of course, for the Hodlnots weekly warm up. Until then, take care. Ciao, ciao.